Hey, Nick. Hey, Kay. Good afternoon. How are we doing today?
Hey, Scott. How are
This
Hi,
you?
is
Scott. Hi, Nick.
Kay. You
Hey.
went to beautiful Dallas, Texas yesterday. Is that right? You flew back to New York
Yes.
yesterday.
Yep, I did.
Did you enjoy it?
Very much.
Awesome. Well, we're glad to have you down south, as they say. But so for those listeners and I guess those watchers of this second podcast, we are the crew of RocketScreens, and so we're going to do a series of these 30-minute presentations talking about solving problems in the reporting and business communities using RocketScreens to do that. And so, Nick, I want to introduce you first. So tell me a little about you and your background, and then ultimately, what's the topic today?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm the director of product development here at RocketScreens. Background is I've been a software developer for, professionally, almost 8 years now. So kind of a long time. But I started off in the analytics and reporting space, working with Oracle products and Oracle software, building integrations for that software, eventually moving into like Tableau and Power BI. And now taking that kind of experience, combining it, and bringing us RocketScreens.
Awesome. And the unique solution today we want to talk about?
DOMO. Yep. Last time we talked about Tableau. Today we want to go over DOMO.
Okay. Connecting and visualizing DOMO reports and dashboards.
Correct. Yep. Putting those up on your TV or in a URL or really anything to help broadcast those reports to your team.
Okay, good. Kay, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, everyone. This is Kay again, the captain's assistant. And I'm so excited to join you again for another podcast. And I look forward to another learning session with you guys.
Thank you. And I didn't introduce myself early on. So Scott Pressler, the commander of RocketScreens. And thank you, Kay, for, again, keeping the rocket on course. This is going to be a good one. You know, DOMO, the company, is a publicly traded company on NASDAQ. We were partners with DOMO probably 7 years ago when it first came out. I know a little bit about the history. It is a headquartered company out of Utah. The founder of that company sold his other company to Adobe. Adobe Analytics he was the inventor of Adobe Analytics. Started a new company, DOMO, and they've done very well. What do you know about DOMO, Nick? Shed some light on those guys. The DOMO Sapiens, if you will.
I think it's an extremely useful and attractive tool. It's it's one of these self-service BI tools that a lot of people just fall in love with. It's once you get into like using it, I mean, you can immediately see the value of it. You know that you can get in, start building these integrations to all of these different data sources, set up these ETL processes all by yourself, create beautiful dashboards, and don't have to download anything to get the software running. So really, the barrier to entry is real low. It's beautiful. It's fast. It's just an amazing tool, and it's unbelievable how flexible it is too. They have up to like 1,000 different connectors, so they can connect to. I mean, if you can dream it, they can connect to it. So it's really just an extremely powerful tool.
So I think it was one of the early mobile first platforms for analytics. And obviously that's now the way to go. And so they were an early adopter back a few years ago. It's interesting. We haven't really explained RocketScreens. I know you're about to do that. You mentioned connectors. So we also live that way too, right? But unlike what DOMO's doing, we're not building reports in our system. Can you explain what you meant when you said that there were connectors for DOMO? But again, we at RocketScreens, and just kind of give the team a little introduction about the RocketScreens product.
Yeah, absolutely. So the difference is DOMO has connectors to connect to different data sources. So they have connectors to connect to Stripe, which is a payment processing platform, a number of different SAP applications, Twilio, SendGrid. I mean, all these different things just to pull data out of these systems and help you report on it with DOMO. The connectors for RocketScreens they don't do something even even though we use the same kind of term, they don't really do the same thing. Our connectors or our apps, we're just trying to pull the dashboards and reports out of the system, not the data. We don't want to become a tool to replace your dashboards and replace your reports or help you build new ones. We know you have already done that. So you've done it in whatever tool you have, DOMO in this case. You've spent time to build these beautiful reports with drill downs and all this kind of stuff. What we want to do is just expose that dashboard to a wider audience, or whether that be people in your office, they could be users of DOMO or not. They could be a guest that you have in your office. They could be visitors to your websites or anything like that. And that's really what we're trying to do, is take your dashboards you built into the tools and distribute them to a wider audience.
And with RocketScreens, we could take your DOMO reports, and we could also then take your Microsoft reports, your Oracle reports, all the different connectors we have. We take snapshots of those reports and bring it back, and we create a playlist, and then you can display it on many different devices, any screens, correct, right? So like a digital signage delivery, TVs, laptops, tablets, mobile devices. We can embed these channels into Microsoft Teams, Slack. The list is endless on getting it to really any screen. Correct.
Right, exactly. And again, like you said, we're taking snapshots of this, and because embedding something like Power BI or DOMO, which we'll talk a little bit about their embedding approach today, or in these other systems, actually doing it with those platforms one at a time is immensely time consuming, complex, expensive. We're just saying, no. We don't need all this fancy drill down stuff as far as we're concerned. Just take the snapshot of what you built, put it into Teams, and you can still get back to DOMO. But if you're just wanting to look at it, you don't need all that fancy stuff.
So again, we did a bad job on our second podcast explaining our relationship. US Analytics is relationship to RocketScreens. So US Analytics is the mothership, I guess, if you will. I'm the CEO, Scott Pressler, and our business over 20 years, we've built out some of the most complex and powerful and hopefully beautiful reports for large enterprise type companies. And we've seen the flavors and the different methodologies. And what we realize is that every company needs these important snapshots to run their business. So whether it's the sales, operation, finance, marketing, you name it now, data's everywhere. You've probably built it in whatever platform you own, but how do you now get that information out quickly to your teams, wherever they're at, and have them ultimately consume the data quickly? And if they ever really need to find out more in this playlist, they could click on that report on their report, or take a QR code off their phone on a TV, and it takes them right to the system where if they have access, they log in and they can ask more questions. Is that correct?
Absolutely, 100%.
What's the value there?
So it's really the values bringing everything full circle. It's a hard task, as everybody knows, to communicate with your team, and to get your teammates to routinely log into your dashboards and whatever system you have, two-factor authentication, go in, drill down to find all these things that they're looking for, can be time consuming. And a lot of, in our experience, a lot of employees will just say, oh, whatever, and they'll just kind of brush it off, and they'll resort to Excel or something like that, which
right.
It's a hard time to fight against that. And that's what we're trying to do. We're saying, no, you built these. Don't ask them to go log in. Don't ask them to do all this. Just put it directly to them. Give it to them. Don't ask them to go do anything else. Just almost like pushing it to them instead of asking them to come pull it from you.
So I'm a member on your development team. You guys are using project tools to run the different development initiatives. You've got reports, possibly even marketing reports. You've got probably your costs and AWS for us. And you've got 5 or 6 kind of critical pieces of information that you and or your team probably need to look at every day to run the business.
Yeah, absolutely. We have AWS reports that are in Power BI. We have Google Data Studio that's measuring Google traffic from Google Analytics. We have our boards up there, our project boards, to see the status of tasks and estimates for how long to complete them. So yeah, we're very much consuming the same things and immediately recognizing this value of just having these a carousel just going through these different things on one of our monitors to just broadcast that and easily understand it without having to go open up all these tools to go find what we're looking for.
Well, and I know probably one of our podcasts in the future will demonstrate the different digital devices that we can display it on. But once you connect to these data or databases or reporting tools, once you've connected in the CMS or content management system of RocketScreens, then you can build these playlists pretty quickly and then get them out, right? So build once, display many times is kind of one of our mottos, I assume.
Yeah, exactly. Because it's no one wants to be able to go set up, an integration for every single page in a Power BI report. So yeah, you just have to do like the initial kind of setup of Power BI or Teams, and then you can just create apps. I want to connect to this dashboard or this report or this project board, and then you can broadcast it to any number of screens you have.
Would you take us to our RocketScreens website, maybe show off even the different connectors we have, the integrations we own, and then even, if you want to just go right into the demo. I'll say one other thing, and you can start going there, but you even kind of joked, oh, you don't want it to be in Excel, but we can connect to Excel also, right?
We
so
sure
Excel
can,
is just
yeah.
another data source. And so if you have it in Excel or Google products, we can put that right up on a screen.
Yep, absolutely.
So awesome.
So let me go ahead and share my screen. Let me know when you guys can see it.
It's coming up.
Okay.
All right, you got it?
We got it.
All right. So our website, of course, is rocketscreens.com. Definitely encourage anyone to come see what we've got, see the different apps we connect to, check out the pricing, check out the features. And we have a free trial for 2 weeks also. So no credit card needed. Sign up and give it a shot. Hopefully, you'll be very pleased with what we've made for you. So we wanted to go look at the apps that we connect to, right?
Please. And while you're pulling those up, our product has been in construction for a little over a year. We've got a lot of clients in different industries. We're seeing a lot of adoption, again, back to all these connectors. No one is really doing this. It's just a unique idea because of our space and what we see. But you've done a good job, Nick, and people are loving your product. So show it off, please.
Great, thank you. Yeah. So here's our apps page where we just show off everything that we have dedicated connectors for, and we're constantly adding new ones. I think we've come to a place where we have several processes in mind when we start researching how to connect to a new app that customer brings up, or one that we plan to do for a while that we're finally getting to. And so we can move through these pretty quickly, and where we're just adding new ones as this list goes on. We're up to just under 100 now, so we're almost there, but we connect to things like you see here, Asana, Jira, Trello, all kinds of different project boards. We connect to different file storage services, so OneDrive, SharePoint, Google Drive, reporting platforms like Tableau, Domo, Power BI, and then, of course, all kinds of files that we connect to, too. We do PowerPoint files, Excel files, like you mentioned. We're really trying to connect to really any kind of abstract file that we can find, but also these dedicated platforms, Domo, of course, being one of them. So highly encourage anyone to come check out the apps page, see if what you have or what's on this page, if you have one of these products. We can integrate with it, no problem. If not, I highly encourage you to reach out to us and say, I am using product X. Can you guys connect to that? We'll be happy to do the research, look into it, and come back and hopefully make you happy. We've already done that actually with several of our customers. Hopefully, we can cover that here in an episode shortly.
Well, and honestly, the background we have in the report generation, data warehousing space enabled you and your team to go in and connect securely with a lot of these applications, creating an integration that is, basically password protected, and ultimately the reports stay safe, and you can't really, get it out beyond the fences that we put in here. And And so I think we're doing something a little bit different than a lot of our competitors. If they're even, even connections to these products, which we don't see a lot of these in any other product out there.
Definitely. And in fact, Domo fits pretty nicely in that, because you're right. A lot of our competitors, they'll say, yeah, we support Trello or Jira or whatever. Just make a public URL and give it to our app. And we definitely don't want to do that. And realistically, it's unlikely that URL will be discovered by some search engine indexing, but people can share that URL. People can stumble upon it. If they leave the company, they'll still have access to it. So it's just not a good idea to do that. And especially with sensitive data. And in some industries, it's not even realistic to do. You'll get in big trouble for that. So what we're trying to do is, for each app that a customer has, like I said, we have several processes. Or what are the best ways we can connect to this and make sure it stays secure? So like we went with last week with our Tableau example. We went through the process of creating secure tokens to make sure our app talks to Tableau and only our app talks to Tableau. A lot of these we use OAuth so you can confirm what our app is trying to do and verify the permissions. And Domo is no different when we get to it here in a minute. Our competitors ask for you to expose a public URL of your cards, is what Domo calls the kind of components of their dashboard. And we don't ask you to make a public URL, we ask you to make a private URL. And again, I'll get to that in a second. But we try to go through the most secure ways and the realistic ways we can find to connect to these platforms, dedicated, and approach them on one-by-one basis.
I want to stop you for 1 second before you go into the actual demo.
Sure.
The one thing about Domo that I remember, and it was early days, I'm not saying that it's not used, like 100,000 companies use Domo now, but a lot of the early adoption, because I think of their industry expertise around marketing, is that Domo was used a lot for marketing departments. And it's interesting because our product has the ability to bring in a lot of marketing information also. And so we're not even considering ourselves in any sort of compete with Domo, but there's a huge need for marketing departments to have live data about either web visits and conversions, or how about Twitter? The thing is that it's interesting, before we built this product, I never really looked at my Twitter feeds. I mean, who has time, let alone my competitors' Twitter feeds? And so with our product, you can easily connect even to Twitter, blend that into that playlist you talked about. And anybody in the marketing team can see kind of what's going on 360 degrees. It's pushed to you, as you said. You can watch it on monitors in the office, on your laptop, on your mobile devices. And again, if there's any question, click right to that and ultimately get the results in a real fast turnaround versus having to go to these 8 or 10 systems. And I think that's the big problem we're seeing, is that the information overload, as everyone says, and our ability to kind of streamline it, get it to you. Your management wants these 5 reports in your face twice a day. What a burden that is. We eliminate that burden. So go ahead, start working on your demo. I appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. So first, I just want to bring everyone to Domo's website. Just to talk a little bit, we already talked, at length about it, but just to, give credit where it's due. Domo.com. They have a free trial as well, but they have a lot of these products that are really powerful. They have, or focuses rather. They have this data integration focus, like what we talked about, with thousands of integrations to all kinds of tools. In fact, on my other tab here, you can go in and to Domo's kind of app store and see all of these apps they have. Again, there's thousands of them. You can connect to Square, Shopify. There's a Trello connector, Jira, QuickBooks. I mean, it's unrealistic to go through all of them, but chances are, if you have a platform, Domo can connect to it. It's extremely powerful, and that's, like I said, one of the pillars of their message. Some of the other pillars that they have, I mean, you just read them on their homepage here. Of course, BI and analytics, they really promote the self-service. They don't want you to have to go through your IT team to get the answers that you're looking for through reports or dashboards. They have some data science facilities built into the app too. A lot of competitors today are really doing the data science message and the deep learning, all that kind of stuff. Domo is one of the kind of the early pioneers with this, before we kind of knew it as machine learning. they were trying to get into these, what they're calling intelligent apps, to try to meet the same requirements. And then the fourth pillar that they have here is this embedded analytics. And that's where you can take DOMO and make it available to partners or to customers that aren't necessarily your DOMO users, but you can still expose them to the data, let them drill down and everything like that. So with all that said, I can finally jump into my my development instance here and show what we're going to try to do. So I'm in DOMO now. Again, it's a development instance. I have this dashboard, which is one that they provide, sample data sets and cards. And I have all these different reports on here. These reports are what they call cards. And to get this into RocketScreens, we really just need to do one simple thing. So we go to share this this dashboard. It's taking a second here. We click publish as slideshow.
I think Domo's sucking too much of the cloud juice. It's slowing everything down. That's how powerful it is, I guess.
Right, right. So here it lets me select what cards that I want to put into this slideshow. I'm going to take some out just to try to speed up our system, and I'll get to more about how our system interacts with DOMO here in a few minutes. Let's just pull a few of these guys out. And you're right, maybe DOMO's the one I need to worry about. We'll go ahead and we'll click save. So right here, we can publish this slideshow in a few different ways. What we want to do is we want to change the publish status from web not published to web private. So this is where we differentiate from a lot of competitors. The competitors will say, give us a public URL, and just like it says, anyone with the link can view it. We want you to make a private URL with the link and an access code. So once you click that, we'll click done. Oh, here we go. So DOMO gives us the share URL, which is a URL that we'll need to access it, and then this access code. We'll need both of these if we're going to put this into RocketScreens. So I'm going to leave this right here for a second, and we'll come back to it. And just copy my share URL first, because I know I'm going to need that. So I'm going to switch over to RocketScreens now. And if you saw our last episode, we talked about creating a Tableau integration with some personal access tokens. We don't need to do anything like that with DOMO. What we need to do, though, we just create a channel so I have somewhere to put this app. Okay, and in our list of apps, I'm going to search for DOMO. Again, you can search for any other app in here, and you can see the full list of everything that's available. So let me click DOMO. I want this to play for 60 seconds, so just leave it there by the default, or at the default, rather. And on the second page here is where we get to our specific fields we need for DOMO. So we need to put in our share URL, which is what we got from that first field. And I'll need this access code right here in the second field. And now when I give this access code to RocketScreens, as soon as I save this app, it'll start taking those cards and getting ready for the presentation. So I'll click next. We have some other options here. Let's I'll turn these on for the demo. One is to show the QR code, which will link back to the DOMO dashboard. And we can also add a refresh label so we can see when these snapshots of the dashboard are last been updated. So I'll click create. So this is running in the background. This might take a few minutes. There were a large amount of cards that were in there, so I'll just give it some time to complete. But in that time, I want to cover two things. One is give a little bit more details about the implementation, and 2 is to set up a player and have this start running on it. So to talk about the details a little bit more, DOMO has an offering like what we talked about. DOMO, I think it's called DOMO Everywhere. It's their embedded offering. And that's where, like we said, you can take a dashboard or a card and embed it for a portal for customers or for partners. In our experience, that is extremely expensive, especially if this is going to be on a TV for a long amount of time. And this isn't, those are fully interactive. Basically, we think for what we're trying to do, it's overkill. And so that's, so this isn't using any of those additional costs. This is something you can do just with DOMO as it is on its own. As long as you have permissions to create a slideshow and create a private slideshow, then you can use this functionality without needing any other licenses.
Well, and also with DOMO and their ability to also, get on a TV screen the way you just said, what DOMO can't really do is access all the other reporting systems you own and all the other data feeds that they aren't really data loading in, but again, I mentioned the Twitter feeds and whatnot. So we can really do that in building this playlist. DOMO may be the most important thing, and quite frankly, it could be the only thing we want to show in this playlist. But we can also go back to the other apps we've already connected and built, like last week, the Tableau apps, and we can add that to this playlist by just dragging and dropping that in here. And then now you have ultimately your own blended, tailored experience.
Right, exactly. It's kind of like a data mashup. It's not really mashing up the data, but it's mashing up your reports, right?
Yeah. Awesome.
So that should be almost done if it's not already. But similar to what we did last time with Tableau with creating a web URL, I'm going to go through the process now of setting up a desktop player. It's a very similar process to a physical player, but of course I should have set the TV, and show up. But this is a bit easier. So let me go ahead and start this desktop app that we have.
So again, you built a playlist. It's a single slide, which is a DOMO dashboard. It's going to play for 60 seconds, then repeat. And now you've got to display it somewhere, right? So you're going to ultimately use a player. We have about 5 different types of players. The physical players on TVs, some browsers and TVs actually, and then you have the ability to download software to your laptops, which is what you're showing off. And we also can embed it into websites and portals and whatnot. And then we have another application called Streams where you can forward it to your team directly to our Streams app, and it just plays in the background. But you're going to show off now where you're going to take that DOMO channel and you're going to put it right on this player, correct?
Yep, absolutely right. So I'll go to my digital signage tab, and then I'll go to the players sub-tab. And here I'll click create player. I need to select what type. I'm doing the desktop player because it's a desktop app. And obviously if you don't have the app, we have download links here to get it. So I'll say DOMO example. The registration code was back in the app right here. So I copied it, set it here, and then I'll select the DOMO channel we just created. So I'll claim this player. And now I'll go back, and we give it a moment here. It should be loading up the Tableau, or sorry, the DOMO cards that we just set up. Here we go.
Awesome.
Wow.
Yeah, so I mean, of course we spent a few minutes going through this and talking and everything, but I mean, it's really simple to get DOMO set up, really simple to get a player set up, and now I can just, set this up on, if I have HDMI cable, I can plug it into a TV and just make it full screen and have this running all the time.
And so the bottom corner, you've got a QR code and you've got that's a timestamp of when the actual report was copied in this case, or screenshotted in the application, correct?
That's correct. Yep. So we've got the QR code. So any of your team members, they can either click it or they can come up and take a screenshot of it from their phones if it's on a TV. And yeah, then we have this timestamp that's consistently updating of when the last snapshot we took was.
Awesome. I have one question. I know you can't really go back in time, but that player that you're showing right had a QR code. What's that for?
So good question. So that's when you, let's say you have a TV, right? The same process that we just went through, but it's on a TV. If you don't want to go through and memorize the code, or you saw I copied it, so it's really easy for me to do it here. When on TV, of course, you can't copy it. We have a mobile app, and you just take you just scan the QR code, and it'll set it up automatically. So it's a bit more of a convenient way to kind of accelerate the registration process for our players.
So what you're talking about is we have a mobile app for both the iOS and also for the Android mobile phones, where you can ultimately build, but also deploy this information right from your phone. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yep.
Awesome. I knew that. I just was making sure I was challenging you to see if you knew the answer.
You're testing me.
I was. Well, good. So you've now demonstrated going out to the DOMO server and creating a private connection so it's secure. And then we brought that information back into our content management system for RocketScreens. You built a channel with that DOMO information, and then you showed on your laptop you had a downloaded software program from RocketScreens we call Player, and you're ultimately then connecting both the channel and the player together, and voila, it's playing today, right now.
Correct. Yep.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Good. Well, I think that's what we wanted to demonstrate today, was really connecting to DOMO. We're going to try to do this each week. We've got crazy connectors. We even have a connector that a lot of these systems are very difficult to get reports out of. HubSpot's a perfect example. I love HubSpot. Nick, how many times a day do I talk about HubSpot? Every day?
Oh, yeah.
I didn't get a RocketScreen shirt on. The reason I did is because I couldn't get a HubSpot shirt on because they didn't give me one. But my whole point is, even though it's a really powerful application, you can't get reports out of it. They have dashboards. What you can do though is you can email reports out, and you can email to your system. And we have a mechanism for those types of system to get up on the various player types too. We should talk about that next week.
Yeah, absolutely. That's one of our, as far as I'm aware, that's a unique feature to our platform, is taking in those emails from any arbitrary system and showing them up. And so we'll be absolutely happy to do that next week.
Awesome. Well, I want to say thanks to UK for listening and learning. Did you learn anything today?
Yes, I did. Thank you for inviting me.
Anytime. And Nick, again, like always, I appreciate showing off these new features and techniques. And, as a manager of a business, even a small business, if my team doesn't understand the information I want to provide them, and we're so busy, right? So getting it to them in a playlist, or, really pushing this information, like you said, is really the only way that you can keep your performers performing. Couple minutes every a day just to get the 8 or 10 different pieces of information, no matter where they come from, and pushed right to you no matter where you're at. In our space, which is the performance management space, it's game changing. And so great job again today, and we'll see you guys next week.
All right, sounds good.
Thanks
Kay. Thanks, Scott. Appreciate you guys' time.
Bye-bye.
Bye.